as most of our Morim Dvar Malchus are this year. It begins about the Haftorah with the pasuk from the Haftorah of Shabbos Chanukah. Rani ושמחי בת ציון, sing and rejoice, the daughter of ציון. ידוע דיק בזה. And it's known, the analysis of this pasuk, berubam chichulam shal adrushim al pasuk zeh, in the vast majority of the mamorim on this pasuk, ma'u hatam sheknes Yisrael nikras kam b'shem bas Tziyun. What's the reason that Knesset Yisrael is called over here the daughter of Tziyun? The l'chura seemingly kivin shemedubar kanoi this Knesset Yisrael k'fi betach samayla, since it speaks about over here about Knesset Yisrael, the way they're in the ultimate level of height, their ultimate elevation. Like it says in the continuation of the pasuk, behold, I am coming, and I am going to dwell amongst you. So the Shekhinah is amongst the Yidden. So the Yidden are in a very lofty state. So the Yidden should have been called by a name of that shows on their high quality. That's not the name Bas, daughter. How do we see that Bas is not the Shem HaMayla? Like it's brought down the Medrash about the different expressions that Hashem uses, terms of endearment that Hashem uses about the Yidden. That it says, Bas. Initially, Hashem called the Yidden daughter Chulu. He did not stop from showing his love for them until he called them my sister. And then he did not cease showing love for them until he called them my mother. So the question is, why specifically does he call the Yidden daughter of Tziyun? Another question that Rebbe asks, also when you understand Mashakasa, what it says, Rani ושמחי gomer, sing and rejoice, etc. This is something that's self-understood, that rejoicing is something that's appropriate and necessary and proper. Behold, I'm coming and I will dwell amongst you, and I'm dwelling amongst you. So if the Shekhinah is amongst us, if Hashem is with us, automatically there's the idea of joy. Now, let's say if there was not the Shekhinah shoyre b'soichech, also the Rebbe says there's no need to be told to be joyous. Even without the promise of V'shachanti b'soichech, I will dwell amongst you. It says, we are commanded, you have to serve Hashem with joy. Now, joy, using the term simcha, that's a higher expression. And rina, as we're soon going to mention, is not as much as joy. Rina is often associated with song, but the term rina is not as high as simcha. Since there's the idea of joy, there's also the level of rina that's below simcha. What makes us say that rina is less and below the level of simcha? So the Rebbe brings a proof from a lashon, the Zohar. Moving on my Zohar, like it's understood from what the Zohar says, simcha b'tzafra or renana beramsha. It says that joy is in the morning, and renana, rina, song, is in the evening. Now, we know that we're talking about evening and morning, especially according to Kabbalah, Pnimis HaTorah, morning shows that light is shining, shows on a time of uplifting and revelation. Evening, darkness, night shows on a time of things being muted, if you will, less, not so great and wonderful. So we're saying that in the morning there is simcha, and in the evening, when it's not so great, there is renana. So that means that simcha is a much more powerful thing, and expressing a more powerful experience than rina is. So once you have simcha, why do you have to tell us b'chlal about rina? Shari b'chlal masayim mana, because included in 200 is 100. So once you have simcha, you have rina also. If so, why does there have to be a specific command for Rani v'Simchi? Because Simcha is, in general, something that should be there either because of Ibdos Hashem b'Simcha, or even more so because of Shechanti b'Soichech. And once there's Simcha, you automatically have a Rino, so therefore there's no reason to have a command b'chlal on the Rino v'Simcha. Oizbeis, Yuvim behegdim bir klaus hashayches the pasuk zelachanuk. This will be understood by prefacing the explanation of the general association of this pasuk to Chanukah. Shari pasuk zeh hu ascholos haftoida shel Shabbos Chanukah. This pasuk is the beginning of the haftoida that we say on Shabbos Chanukah, as I mentioned at the beginning. The idea behind this is the association with Chanukah. The mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is when the sun goes down. The state and situation of the sun going down. When we're talking about a spiritual sundown, top of Vav, it means that what the sun exemplifies, what the sun symbolizes, is not present. That the sun of Yudke Vavke does not shine, as we know that Havaya and Elokim are two names of Hashem that indicate concealment and revelation. So we say the sun goes down. The sun going down, that shows on the Shem Havaya is not illuminating, not shining. And that level, sun going down, shayich lebchinas bas dafke, that's specifically connected with the level of bas that we asked initially. Why does it talk about bas when seemingly that's not the highest and the most developed level of Klal Yisrael? Because the level of Bas is lower than the level of being called the sister to Hashem. The Achos, the word Achos meaning sister, Umalashain Achva is in the word having to do with fraternity and brotherhood. Shebezen the Keres HaShayches LaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the word Achoisi is recognizable the association to Hashem. Shehu Ach, he is our brother and we are sisters to him. So therefore, a daughter is lower than that. There isn't that type of level of being like almost like a peer and a brotherhood with Hashem. Also, brotherhood also shows an association. Fraternity and brotherhood shows an association, like we say about the Aravis. The Aravis shegedelim ba'achva. They grow all in a fraternal type of way, in a brotherhood type of way. So Achois shows on that closeness. Bas shows on a lower state. Malachas kam v'kamam, and how much more so shebechinas bas hilamatam bechinas imi, that the word bas or the daughter indicates that it's lower than what Hashem calls us, my mother. And Hashem calling us my mother, Shalomai L'gama Achoisi, is greater than Hashem calling us my sister. Because the idea of a mother is she mashpas libaneha, that a mother is one that gives, the mother feeds, and educates, and trains, etc., and gives birth to the child. What does that mean when Hashem calls us a mother? This is the idea that the Chazal say that Yidden add power, strength, might, energy in the court of above. The Chazal say that when Yidden do what they're supposed to do, that's what it means. Now the koyach of Adnai increases. How does the koyach of Adnai increase? When we do things. So in that way, we are considered a mother, just like a mother is mashpia. So we are kaviyachol being mashpia to Hashem. So Bas is lower than daughter and definitely lower than the level of mother. How come do we associate it over here with Chanukah? That's why during the time of Hanukkah, Yidden are called daughter Lefi Shehoyu Oz B'Shefel HaMatzah, because then we were in the lowest stage, it was not so much recognizable. Their association with Hashem, their connection with Hashem, was something that was difficult to see. There was a separation, and so on and so forth. So he's going to explain where and what the separation was. Second paragraph, line 12. The idea behind this is during the time of Hanukkah, the Yevonim defiled all the oils that were in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, this means it happened in the literal sense, but everything that happens in the physical world is a reflection of above. This idea that in the material world they actually defiled, they made the oil impure to be used in the Beis Hamikdash. This came down by chain descent from the fact that this was so in the spiritual realms. What does this mean? That spiritually they were trying to defile the oil of the Yidden. That's why this came about, the physical defilement of the oil, because they were trying to make the Yidden forget your Torah and to remove them from the statutes of your will, like we say in Al Anisim. But what happened? Through the self-sacrifice of Matas Yoka and Gadol, that's how there was the victory over the Yevonim. That's the reason why the Ner Chanukah, its mitzvah, is from when the sun goes down. Is to indicate that the Yidden were then a very low level. They wanted to make the Yidden forget your Torah, to remove them from the statutes of your will. To such a degree that they were even able to defile all the oils in the Beis Hamikdash. And therefore, according to this will also be understood, Gam Hadiuk, also when we look this closely, this analysis, they found only one cruse of oil that was laying there with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. The seal, literally, that it was closed and made sure that it wasn't defiled. What's the connection specifically to the Kohen Gadol? Why would the Kohen Gadol, in the normal sense of things, be putting seals on the oil? That wasn't his job. It's like saying that some big Rav, is going to go ahead and start putting kashrut certificates in a restaurant or a product. If anything, he has representatives, but the Kohen Gadol doesn't go around sealing the jars and the cruises of oil. And not only that, but the whole thing of the manufacture of the oil and even the kindling of the menorah is not something that's connected with the Kohen Gadol. It's permitted to kindle the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash, even through someone that's not a Kohen. And the Kohen Gadol dafkin, for sure you do not need the Kohen Gadol. That is even hadlakas aneres. Now the oil and the manufacturing of the oil and the storing of the oil, especially here we're talking about the seal. When we're talking about the seal, there was a specific appointee that their job was to take care and to deal with the seals that had to do with different items in the Beis Hamikdash. So, if anything, there should have been the seal of this particular appointee, that his job was the job of sealing things. Why was it placed specifically with the seal of the Kohen Gadol? So the reason was a spiritual reason. That true, the Kohen Gadol sealed it, obviously in the physical sense, like we said before. Everything took place in the physical sense, but it had a spiritual cause. But the idea behind this is, this was because the Yidden were in a very low state. Therefore, to prevent the idea of impurity that the Ivanim tried to impart, there was a need specifically for the seal of the Kohen Gadol. The idea of the seal of the Kohen Gadol indicates the idea of self-sacrifice, similar to what we said before, that Matisyo Kohen Gadol demonstrated Mesiras Nefesh in his fight against the Yevonim and their Tumah. Shesham, over there, loy magia inyan Tumah, the level of Mesiras Nefesh has to do with Yechidah Shebenefesh, the very essence of the Jewish soul. As we're going to have soon in Tanya, that the level of the essence of the soul is always ready to give its life up for Hashem, and over there, no tumah can touch it. And that's why it was Matisyahu that was the one that went on Mesiras Nefesh, and that was also why, to be able to protect the oil, it had to be specifically the Kohen Gadol, because the Kohen Gadol shows on that essential connection of the Yid with Hashem. So this was all fine the first time around, that I was going to say. But the following years, things were already, better. So he says, Nois Gimel, line 3, we still need to understand. The Tishkachan was, though in the time of Chanukah, the state was that the sun went down, meaning that was a time of darkness and defilement, and the Yevonim wanted to make tummy everything and so on. But this is all before the victory. But in the following year, when they established it and made it Yom Tovim, like it says the expression in Chazal, that Lashona Haba, the following year, they established it as a Yom Tov. Tishkacham was already the opposite of the sun going down. It wasn't about the sun setting, that the Shemesh Havaya was not illuminating. Now Shemesh Havaya was illuminating. The Avodah was going on the Beis Hamikdash. They had pure oil, etc., etc. So on the following year, why would they establish it to be connected with the sun going down? Why did they establish the Yom Tov and the mitzvah of Chanukah, that the candle of Chanukah is, the mitzvah is to be kindled after the sun goes down? He says in line 10, but the idea behind this is, there's also the idea of the sun going down in a good way, in a beneficial and a positive way. It says in the pasuk that the sun shines, meaning the sun rising, and then the sun comes, meaning the sun sets, and to its place it desires and yearns, it is shining over there. Now, the Mekaimai, we're soon going to explain, it's going down, setting in its place. It's known what's brought down in Chassidus. In the actually, before we go on, let's go back a little bit to what the Rebbe says over here about Mishatishka Chama, that's a positive as well. So he says an interesting thing in footnote 15, that just like Mishatishka Chama is a positive thing, this also helps to understand why is Bas. Why do we choose the term Bas, a daughter? Because there's the level of Bas, the level of daughter, which is higher than everything. Let's see in note 15, the first note on the bottom of the page. L'chura kavana, seemingly What the Rebbe is trying to bring out over here is, according to what we say, that when the sun goes down, there's also the positive of the sun going down. Gam hapirish the basian hulu mal yusa. Even when we spoke about before the daughter of ציון, that we were trying to understand why does it say daughter when that's a low level and the Yidden were in a high level. So because daughter of ציון is actually also a quality, a higher level. That the bas is a level, the daughter is higher than sister and mother. And skip the parentheses, and to note from what's explained in the Maimer following this, in the next Maimer of that year. Skip the parentheses again. That the idea of the sun going down in a person's service is that things don't shine by him, and he's doing things in a way of accepting the yoke of heaven. And this has to do with bas. Dvar Malchus, skip the parentheses again. Shabasu inyan kabbalas oil. Bas is serving with that total bittul of accepting the yoke of heaven. Through that we reach the deepest and the essential concealment of Hashem. So essentially, this is written by the editors, not by the Rebbe, but essentially he's putting together this great advantage of the sun going down in what its spiritual meaning is, Kabbalas oil, even though it's dark, still in all, he is going to, and he wants to deal with this. Even though it's dark, he still overcomes the darkness and does it with Kabbalas oil. And the same thing, the level of Bas is higher than Achaisi, higher than Imi, and it serves Hashem with Kabbalas oil. Let's continue further. So he says in line back inside the text, line 13. It's known the explanation of this pasuk of what it says in Kehelas. What does it mean? This idea that Zoreach and so on. When the sun comes, meaning the Hainum Shetishka Chama, when the sun goes down. In the Davka Oz, specifically then when the sun goes down, El Mekoimei Zoreach Husham, to his place, over there he shines. The Sham B'Mekoimei, over there in its place, where it is set, where the sun sets, Hu Toikiv Zrichas Hashemesh, is the full force of the shining of the sun. What does that indicate? Why is that so? Hine Klolus Inyan Hamakim Usfiras HaMalchus. The general idea of place is the idea of Malchus. In general, we associate Malchus with time, and we associate Malchus with place because it is connected with the creation of time and place. Beyond Malchus, higher than Malchus, it's called L'maylam and Azman, and there's no idea of place, just like we say Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimlech. We don't say that about any of the other spheres. And time and place are interconnected. So just like there's no idea of time higher than Malchus, or source of time for higher than Malchus, there's also no idea of place. So Malchus is called Mokim. Same thing when we say Hamokim Baruch Hu. Hamokim Baruch Hu is referring to the way Hashem is the place of the world. That's specifically Malchus, which interacts with the world. Even more so, the connection of Malchus with Mokim. Especially the way Malchus descends to Bia through the curtain of separation that doesn't allow the full force of Atzilus to shine through. Just like the general Seder Ishtalshus, way before Atzilus, before Keser, before Kav, there had to be a Tzimtzum, the Tzimtzum Arishan, the first constriction. And without it, it would have not been possible, the idea of the Kav. There would not be possible to be the coming into being of the worlds of Bri Yetzirasi, especially this low world, only through the curtain. That's what it means the sun sets. We'll